Today is August 15th, 2024, and this is William Michael, the Headmaster of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. And what I'd like to talk to parents about as we get ready for a new school year, if you've got a high school student or even a middle school student, you may be nervous about college preparation and transcripts and all that kind of stuff. So I'd like to talk practically a little bit to help address some of those questions and concerns that parents have. And most specifically, I'd like to talk about motivating high school kids to study, motivating high school students. And there's one very simple thing that I think parents need to do, which is what I'd like to dig into here tonight. First of all, I'd like to recommend a page for you on the Academy website. If you go to classicalliberarts.com/transcript, classicalliberarts.com/transcript, there's an article there that I wrote a few years ago that will provide a lot of the content that I'm going to talk about here in this talk. And it will also, most importantly, provide a link to a transcript template that I'd recommend you use in light of what I'm about to discuss. Again, that's classicalliberarts.com/transcript. Now, one of the problems in education that parents in homeschooling environments and teachers as well in schools struggle with is helping children to understand why studying is important. It's very difficult for children to understand the importance of their studies because much of what they study is abstract. They really don't know what it's for. You can think back to your own education, sitting in a middle school algebra class or a high school chemistry class wondering, what in the world am I ever going to do with this wacky stuff? Well, that's how our kids feel every day. They don't understand. They don't have experience. They don't know why the subjects that they're being asked to study need to be studied. And a lot of the time they think that they're just going through some useless motions instead of doing things that could actually help them. And so they get frustrated because they feel like they're just being given busy work, and they think that there are other things they could be doing that would be more helpful. I'll give you an example. Most of my sons have been interested in military careers, and so when I ask them to do academic work, they get frustrated because they think about their military careers and they think about soldiers, and they think that they should be going to do jiu-jitsu practice, and they should be running and training and lifting weights and doing all of these physical activities. And then there's me telling them, you need to make sure you get your grammar studies done, and you need to study history and philosophy and mathematics and natural sciences and religion and on and on. Well, they think that dad is telling them just to do things he likes, and they're neglecting all of these important military preparations. And it's very difficult for them to understand why they're being asked to do something that doesn't appear to affect their future work, their vocational plans. And that's a real obstacle to get over, and parents have to work to help the students get over that obstacle and understand. I mean, they also have to make sure they don't give the kids busy work to do, and that everything that they ask the kids to do actually is helpful for them. But they have to help the kids over this hump of distrust and disinterest. They have to find ways to motivate kids to study. Now, one of the easiest ways to do that, what I recommend for parents, one of the easiest ways to help kids to embrace their need to study is to get in touch with, whatever it is that they want to do. Again, for my kids, it's military careers. They're all interested in the military. Get in touch with people in the industry, whoever the next level is, the destination institution, the program they're going to be applying for admission to, their first checkpoint on their career path. Get in contact with those people. Get information from those people, because they will almost always explain the importance of a strong high school education. For example, my 16-year-old son Jacob wants to join the Marines, and so we have this thing. He just wants to run and train and lift weights and learn about the military and study military history and all this kind of stuff. And here I am trying to get him to just complete his general studies, to complete his high school diploma. And he's got to be dragged through these studies because he's just so intensely excited about military training. So I got in touch with the Marine recruiters, and I asked for a letter that would explain what we should be focused on in preparing for a career in the Marines. And the letter that I received from the recruiter explained that one of the most important things is to focus on completing your high school studies. And so to see that come from a Marine recruiter on Marine stationery, and I put it right on the refrigerator in the kitchen, and I highlighted the line that said, "Focus on finishing high school studies," and I highlighted it, and that was the end of the discussion. That's from the Marines. That's not Dad. That's the Marines talking. Get your high school studies done, finish strongly, and complete your diploma. We have to help the kids to see that. We have to help them to see that we're not making this up, that this really is central, whatever it is that they want to do. So they may talk about, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a nurse. I want to be this or that. They don't understand the process. They don't understand the path to that occupation necessarily. They may be just thinking about the end goal. They may be thinking about being a doctor or being, a soldier or being a dancer, whatever it is they want to do. They may be thinking about the end, and they may not understand the process. They may not understand the path to that end, and they simply need to have that shown to them. So let's take another example, like I want to be a doctor. So we can show the kids that, to be a doctor, you need to receive a medical license. You receive a medical license from a medical school. Well, we can go online and look at a medical school and go to their admissions information and read about what's necessary to get admitted to medical school. And they'll start talking about, you need a bachelor's degree and this and that, and these are the studies you need to complete. Okay, so you need a bachelor's degree. Okay, now we can go and we can look at the requirements for a bachelor's degree and find that you need a high school diploma and you need to be admitted into a college that can grant a bachelor's degree. So now you've got to get admitted to college, and now we can look at the college admission requirements and see that you need these studies and these courses and this, and you need this GPA and this SAT score. And now the kids can understand that I can't even talk about getting a medical degree until I get into medical school. And I can't even talk about getting into medical school until I finish my undergraduate studies. And I can't even talk about undergraduate studies until I get admitted to college. And I can't get admitted to college until I complete these high school courses. And so the kids, again, they can see the path. And if they're serious about that end, we can help to eliminate that obstacle of just not understanding why they need to do what they're being asked to do. So that's a challenge for teachers and parents, to help the kids gain that understanding of why this or that is necessary and important. So that's a challenge for us. And as we have kids with different interests, different vocational plans, and so on, often our kids will be interested in something that we really don't know anything about. For me, for example, growing up, my two grandfathers were military men. They both served in the Korean War, and then I had an uncle who served in the Vietnam War. So I had some military veterans around me growing up, but my understanding of military was just being drafted and sent to war. I really didn't understand anything about military careers, military training, any of this sort of stuff, officer training. I was very ignorant about military life. I just knew about soldiers going to war. So when my my oldest son, when he was like 14 years old, started to talk about military, all I could think about was my uncle getting drafted and sent to Vietnam. And I'm thinking, you're such a gifted boy. You've got such a great intellect, so many options. Why would you want to be a soldier, in my mind? And then, we got into contact with military recruiter, and all of a sudden this whole world of military careers and education all opened up. And, I sort of, slapped myself in the forehead, realizing that I had no idea what my son was thinking about when he talked about wanting to pursue a military career. So I had to learn. I had to learn all about the options that were available to him, all the different branches of the military, different MOSs or career paths within the military, all the different options for enlisting, whether he was going to be a reserve or active duty, ROTC, opportunities to go to college, have college paid for, all of these different things. We had to learn, my wife and I, we had to learn the whole world of military careers in order to help our kids with their studies, because our kids, in God's providence, were wired with a completely different set of wires than my wife and I were. So that's one of the challenges we often face is our kids, they have their own life, their own vocation, their own interests, own abilities, wired differently than we are, and they're going to be interested in things that we may not know much about, and we have to learn what's necessary, what the timeline looks like, what has to get done where. And if we can gather that information with our kids and lay it all out in front of them, it can take a lot of that lack of motivation away from high school studies. So that's a big challenge for the kids as they get into their teenage years. And until they really understand that they just never engage with studies. And if you think back to your own high school experience, what most students do is they just completely waste their first 2 years of high school. Freshman and sophomore years, you have no idea what you're doing. You just go through the motions. For example, for me, I wanted to play football, and I knew that in order to play football, I had to get better than C's on my report card. So my whole understanding of high school was it was just a test to see if you could get C's so that you could play football. And then, other sports seasons rolled around and the challenge continued. But it wasn't really until my junior year when I was, 17 years old. Friends are starting to get their driver's licenses. All of a sudden you're getting into cars and you're buying gas and paying car insurance and dealing with all of this stuff. And you start to think about adult life. You start to realize, like, I've only got 1 year of high school left. What in the world am I going to do when I finish high school? And then you start to hear stories from other kids. You start to hear, Kenny was just admitted to the University of Virginia. He's going to college. Well, for some kids, we don't even know what college is or how it works or anything. But junior year, you've got SAT tests. You start talking about all different kinds of things. There's news in the school about kids winning awards and doing things, National Merit Scholarship and this. And so all of a sudden you start to realize that, my days of high school are numbered, and I don't have an answer for what I'm going to do next. And so usually kids start to figure that out in 11th grade, and then they've basically got those 2 years, 11th and 12th grade, to get their act together and prepare for whatever's next. And usually there's enough time to recover and finish well and get off to college, which is where most people end up. So normally that's how it works. You've got these kids who are, obnoxious academically from grades K through 10. And then, they go through puberty. They start thinking about what's next. They start thinking about living independently, getting out on their own, having their own life, which is another source of natural motivation. And they all of a sudden get serious about things when they're 17, 18 years old. But, the ideal situation is to help them get to that point when they're like 14 years old, to help them understand the paths that are ahead of them when they're 14 years old, getting ready for high school so that they can have 4 solid years of high school study in preparation for their future. So, you can see that there's a number of things we have to do to help the kids understand the value of their high school studies, understand how this is a part of the preparation for whatever future plan they have. We want them to understand that we're not trying to pick a career for them or restrict them to a certain path. This is just the way our society works. Step 1 is the high school diploma. And what colleges, what destination institutions are going to look for, they're going to look to see whether you took the most challenging set of courses available to you, whether you did well in them, whether you showed signs of consistency and progress, whether you did extracurricular activities that manifest some leadership skills or some community-mindedness in your life. Those are the kinds of things that people are going to look for, and now is the time to prepare that stuff, to determine what you're going to be able to show them. And so that leads us to the question, well, how can we do that? How can we help our kids to understand that? And that's where the transcript comes in. What I would argue, one of the most effective things that I've done with my kids is when they're younger, 14 years old or so, I will prepare their high school transcript. I'll show them what the transcript is going to look like. I'll show them what their diploma is going to look like. But most importantly, I'll show them their transcript, and they'll see all the courses listed on the transcript. And I can show them a college admissions page that lists the courses that they're going to look for. And I'll show them those courses on the transcript, and I'll say, this is what the college is going to look for. It's going to look to see that you have this transcript. And you can see the courses listed, and then over here on the right, you can see the grades. And then if you take all those grades together and look up here at the top, you can see this GPA. That's your grade point average. That's your average grade for your high school studies. That number is going to determine whether you get admitted to the school or not. If you have a low GPA, you're not going to get admitted. If you have a high GPA, it's likely that you're going to get admitted. So then I'll take the kids to a college admission website, and I'll show them that, let's say, Catholic University of America, the incoming freshmen have an average GPA of 3.4. And I'll say, so the kids that Catholic University is admitting to their school are kids who have a 3.4 GPA in high school or better. And so if you want to, be sure that you're going to get admitted, you've got to have 3.5, 3.6, 3.7 GPA because the average is 3.4. You don't want to be below average or near average because that puts you at risk of getting denied. If you're above that average, then the reason why that improves your chance of admission is because admitting you raises their average score, average GPA, which makes the school look good, and that's what the admissions department is trying to do. So I can show them exactly what they need to do, and then I can show them a transcript with all the courses laid out, all the credits laid out, everything ready as it's going to look when they finish high school, but all of the grades are Fs. Every course, when you look to the right, you see F, 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 because these courses have not been studied yet. And so as of today, all these courses are on the transcript, and the transcript is ready to go, but all of your grades are Fs, and you have a 0.0 GPA. You're going nowhere. And once the kids see that, and then I show them what they need to do. These courses are, at least for a classical liberal arts Academy student, I could say these courses here, listed here for your freshman year, these courses are active and available to you on your study center account. And you can just start going through those courses and completing the tasks, completing the assignments, and you'll see right on your study center account, you'll see your current grade for that course. And when you finish all the lessons in that course, that grade will determine your grade on the transcript. So if you want to get a 4.0, you want to get an A, you've got to go and complete all the lessons for that course, and you've got to do so and make sure all of your grades are A's. And you can retake quizzes, resubmit assignments, whatever you need to do. It's in your control. You can make that grade an A, and you can do that for every course. So the kids can see that this transcript, very simple to understand, just black and white on paper right in front of them. This is what the college needs. This is what they need for that next step. And again, not just college admission, but this is also necessary for military careers and may be requested by a job interview if you choose to pursue work after high school. You're going to be asked for your transcript. And this transcript is completely in your control. You determine what's on that transcript. And so by getting the transcript in front of the kids when they're young, by showing them that it's full of F's and it's for you to change those F's to A's or B's or C's, but that's in their control, and to tell them, look, you have nothing else to do as a teenager. You have nothing else to do but to work on your high school studies. You have no other worldly work to do. And I don't encourage kids to get jobs and things like that outside the home. I recommend that parents give them chores and pay them rather than have the kids running all over the place to try to make some garbage money. The kids' primary work, the most important work they have, is just to build their transcript. And then you can show the kids, look, this is a standard set of courses. You've got, 5 courses freshman year, 5 sophomore, 5 junior, 5 senior. That is the minimum. That's the basic course. If you want to impress, if you want to have a more impressive transcript, you can add more courses. So you can add theology courses. You can add philosophy courses. You can add classical logic and rhetoric. You can add history courses and so on. You can add all kinds of stuff. You can add music classes. One of my kids, or a couple of my kids, actually added CPR training to their transcripts. All of these different classes, activities, certificate opportunities that are available, go get them. Add them to your transcript. Add them to this transcript. This is your academic resume of what you got done during your high school years. And then I explained to them there's a couple other things that you're going to need. You're going to need a letter of recommendation for a homeschool student. That normally comes from a homeschool parent, ideally comes from somebody outside the home who has some academic credibility. You're going to need a letter of recommendation. You may need an SAT score. That's another issue, which we're going to address probably when you're in 11th grade, but you're going to need an SAT score. So you're in control of your future, and you're in control of your transcript, and you determine what ends up on this piece of paper. And when you're finished, I simply need to sign it and date it, and you're done. You're off. Once kids see that, once kids get a vision of that, they change and they understand that. And even if they fall back into their carelessness and irresponsibility, you can just simply refer to the transcript and say, you know what, today you had an opportunity to build your transcript and you chose to waste it. Tonight you had an opportunity to add to your transcript and you chose to waste it. And you can just constantly encourage them to think about their transcript and continue getting work done, little by little, day by day, bit by bit. But over time, it multiplies and fills the transcript, and that's how it gets done. So there's lots of moral issues to deal with. There's just learning how to manage time, learning how to manage tasks and energy, to make decisions about what to do and what not to do, to learn how to prioritize things that, I'm not saying that it's wrong for you to do that. I'm just saying you might be doing it in an inordinate way, or you may be doing it at the wrong time. And right now in your life, this is really the priority, and that's something that's not a priority. For example, in our family, we have never allowed our kids to get driver's licenses until they turn 18. So usually they're finished with their high school studies. They've got all that done when we're talking about getting a driver's license. And as they're coming up and they say, oh, I'm 15. No, you have work to do. You have priorities. You've got to get your high school studies done. You do not need a driver's license. And so for us in our family, and this has never really been a problem. I know many people may think it's crazy, but for our family, our kids don't even talk about it. They get their driver's license when they turn 18, and we don't deal with that. During their high school years, their focus is their high school studies, getting their high school studies done. We don't ask them to do other things. We don't let them have jobs outside the house that take them away from these. This is your job. This is your full-time job during high school, to fill your high school transcript with completed studies. And other things as well, like I mentioned, extracurricular works and things like that. Significant extracurricular things. Having a job at the local grocery store is not a significant extracurricular activity. If you're engaged in sports, and you're engaged in sports not just for activities which are meaningless, but to show leadership, like you're a team captain or you're a champion, or that's different. But activity is not what's sought in extracurricular activity. They're looking for evidence that when you say, I want to be a doctor, you've got some things in your life that show promise that you probably are called to serve as a doctor. You probably are called to military life. You probably are called to a career in law, for example. And we can see that because of you're interested in politics, you're interested in this, and so on. But getting a transcript in front of a young teenage kid, or any teenage kid, getting the transcript in front of them, prepared, and showing them that this is basically what it means to do high school studies. It means to fill out this transcript. And unlike modern school kids, you've got all year to work on this. You can work on this 12 months a year. You've got all day, all night. Not that we're asking you to study all day and all night year round, but we just want you to understand you've got so much time available. And the better and better a transcript you prepare, the more and more doors are going to be open to you when you're 18 years old. And just helping to make it practical for the kids and give them something very, very simple and visible to focus on, and then to update the transcript, every couple of months, every year at least, to update that transcript and show, look what you just did. You just changed this transcript. You just got that course done. Let's say it's middle of February and a kid managed to get a course done and he's got an A in that course. You can open up that transcript document. You can go find that course, change that F to an A, multiply those grade points, and show that he just bumped his grade point average up 0.25, and just show him that, this is totally in your control, and we're just going to keep updating this quarter by quarter, year by year, and within a couple of years, you're going to be finished. And it's in your control. So getting the transcript in front of the kid is really practically helpful, and I think can help to change the whole dynamic between the parent and the child, from this being something that the parent is concerned with and the kid is resisting, to something that the parent says to the kid, this is really your adult life. This is your future. I'm just here to help you. You're going to have to live with the consequences of whatever you choose. If you choose to not do this, and I'm an adult, this is going to affect your life. And if you choose to blow through this thing and create an awesome transcript, you're just going to have amazing opportunities, especially today where kids are doing so little. So helping the kids to see that, and then to learn to take responsibility for it and to say, this is my transcript. I'm in control of this thing. I can do as much as I want. And, my parents are here to support me and help me as I work towards it. So that's what I recommend for helping these teenage kids to become motivated for their studies, whatever it is that they want to do, whatever their future plans are. Get married, go to the military, go to medical school, go to college, Go get a full-time job, go to this, to become an electrician, whatever it is that they want to do. Having them look at their transcript and say, this transcript is your ticket to that future. Once the kids understand that, 75% of the challenge of education is over, and they can get to work and actually see their progress step by step. So again, you've got to start by drafting the transcript, and I've already done that for families in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. If you'd like to get a template for a transcript that you can just easily make a copy of and edit, if you go to classicalliberalarts.com/transcript, you can, again, there's an article there that talks about this stuff, and there's a link to a transcript template. Now, remember, I've got 5 kids who have already graduated from our family homeschool. They've gone on to military, college careers. The transcript that I'm sharing is the transcript that I've used. It's been successful and effective for my kids. So it's not just like some idea that I have. This has been used effectively, and I recommend it because it makes things pretty straightforward and simple, not just for the colleges or whoever it's being prepared for, but for the parents and for the kids to see how it works and to see how the activities affect the GPA, for example. All those calculations are included on the transcript, so you can see that, and it's very easy to manage. But if you just go to classicalliberalarts.com/transcript, you can find all that information and a link to that, a link to that transcript template. So now, I know, pardon me 1 second here. I know that parents can get really anxious about this stuff, and I just want to assure you that the help is available. But what I don't want is to sit outside the gate and speculate about what's inside, rather than just have you get into it, get the transcript started, get the transcript drafted, and then we have something specific to talk about. We can now just start working on one piece at a time, knocking out one obstacle at a time. Until you do that, I don't want to just talk about all these things like in general vague terms. For example, if a child wants to go to college, that's not an answer, right? If I say, what do you want to do when you finish high school? To say, I want to go to college is not an answer. You have to decide what college. Which college would you like to go to? Name a specific college, because we're going to go to that college website, go to their admission page, read all the details about what they look for, what they require, what kind of students they admit, and we're going to do that. We're going to make sure that we actually do what they say is required for admission. And what program you choose, what major you choose, what school you choose, on and on, all of those details are going to determine what you need to do to prepare. So, for example, to say that, I want to go to Notre Dame, and I want to study in the pre-medical program. Well, that's going to be a very competitive program. And so you better understand what the requirements are, and you better not just fulfill them, but you better exceed them. And you're going to have to discern whether or not you're really capable of that, because you're going to be competing against many of the best and brightest kids in the country. If you think you can do it, great. But we need to look at a specific school. We need to look at a specific program, what the specific requirements are, and then we need to get them done. Same thing for a career path. If you say, I want to be a military officer. Okay, well, let's go look at what's required to be a military officer, and let's lay out the whole plan, what you would need to do that. Let's go look at, I want to go to medical school. Okay, well, let's go look at that whole plan, what needs to be done. Because that's responsible planning. So we want kids as soon as possible to start to nail down what they want to do. if they want to go to college, which college? If they want to go to college, for what program? What kind of studies are you interested in? What's required for admission to that program at that college? We want to get that information because that's going to direct what needs to get done on the transcript. Once you draft the transcript and start to use it, and the student starts to work on it and talk about it, we can talk about specific issues in their preparation. I can help you with specific issues. And really, that's the only kind of help that I'm interested in offering, because we can talk about these things forever in just vague, irresponsible terms. We have to talk specifically. These things are practical. These things should be talked about specifically. And by getting the transcript in front of the kids, by talking about their futures in this practical way, not pie in the sky nonsense, I want to be an astronaut. What specifically do you want to do? What's specifically required? What is the path to do that? What sort of timeline does that create for you? What milestones need to be established? Where does that put you today? What do you need to do right now? What's the first wave of tasks that you need to get done? We have to be able to talk at that realistic, practical level if we're going to work together with college and career preparation, because all of this is practical stuff. And it has to be practical. It has to be circumstantial, has to be specific, or we're just wasting time. So get the transcripts, get them started for your high school students. And then as questions come up, specific questions start to come up, send those questions along, and I'll either create future talks addressing those topics, or I'll just respond to your specific questions in your unique circumstances. But help is available, but we've got to go about this in the right way. And this, based on my experience, this is the right way. So I hope that's helpful. If there's anything you'd like to ask up front before you get started or as you get started with this, just send me an email, write to wcm@classicalliberalarts.com, and I'll help you make sure you've got the copy of the transcript and understand how it works and all that. If you have any questions about your children and specific interests or questions they have, let me know, and either I'll help you with the answers, or I'll use the resources I have to get those answers. But whatever I can do to help, as long as you commit to being practical and specific, I'm willing to help. So I hope that's a helpful start. If you have any questions, get in touch. But I wish you luck. I hope you can pursue this without any anxiety. And again, help your children to understand the path ahead of them, rather than just expect them to embrace work that they really can't comprehend. They really don't understand the purpose of it. Help them to understand the purpose of it. And by getting the transcript in front of them, it's a way you can do that. I hope that helps. God bless.